Lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep, but sometimes the sheep forget whose roar made the ground shake in the first place. To the ones who move in silence but shake entire rooms just by showing up, look closely at what's happening around you. The crowd didn't gather because you were weak. They didn't team up because you were an easy target. No, they formed a pack because alone you were too powerful. One-on-one, they knew they couldn't touch you. You stood like a storm they couldn't predict, so they scrambled, gathered forces, and still they trembled. That's not hate. That's fear wearing a mask. That's panic disguised as noise. This wasn't just a conflict, it was a signal. And if you're hearing this, consider it your wake-up call. Before we go further, if this message is hitting something deep in your chest, if it feels like it was meant for you, then make sure to like and subscribe. Because messages like this, they're not just words, they're lifelines. The moment you interact, it sends a signal to YouTube that another chosen one just woke up, and it pushes this message to more people like you. That's how we rise. That's how we connect. That's how we remind each other. You were never alone. Now listen, there's something haunting about being chosen. It's not loud. It doesn't beg for attention, but it burns. It glows. It turns heads even when you're quiet. And that glow, it doesn't just light up rooms. It exposes people. It makes the envious uncomfortable. It forces the weak to either level up or lash out. And most choose the latter. But don't ever mistake chaos for a curse. Chosen ones don't face pressure because they're fragile. They face pressure because they're pure potential. The universe doesn't waste battles on the ordinary. If you're being targeted, dragged, mocked, copied, betrayed, it's because you carry something they'll never have. They feel it. Even when you doubt it, they still feel it. That's why they panic. That's why they plot. Because deep down, they know. One focused version of you could shift everything. You are the kind of presence that shakes comfort zones, the kind of energy that makes masks fall off. That's why they gather. That's why they gossip. Because no matter what they say, they see you. They see what you could become if you ever stopped doubting. If you ever truly believed in your own light the way they fear it. And yes, some of you forgot. Some of you started thinking the attacks meant something was wrong with you. Some of you whispered, "Why me?" instead of roaring back, "Of course me." You let the world trick you into thinking that isolation meant abandonment instead of elevation. But the universe doesn't forget its own. And right now, it's moving, quietly, powerfully. Behind the scenes, it's aligning the pieces in your favor, not because you begged for it, but because you were built for it. Being chosen doesn't come with an explanation. It comes with pressure, with fire, with resistance. But every chosen one learns this one truth. Pressure only breaks what isn't real. What's real, it rises. So next time the whole crowd turns, next time the storm gets louder, smile. Not because you enjoy it, but because you finally understand it. They're not fighting you. They're fighting the force that chose you. And trust me, that fight is already lost. Stay sharp, stay silent, stay unstoppable. You were never meant to fit in. You were made to stand the hell out. So if the weight of the world's eyes on you feels heavy, good. That means you're exactly who this message was made for. Drop a 777 in the comments if you've ever felt the pressure of being too much for people who think small. That pressure, it's not breaking you, it's shaping you. This is more than content, it's a mirror. And if you're a true chosen one, something in your spirit won't let you click away. It can't. Because what's coming next isn't just truth, it's confirmation. And now, let's get into it. Stay sharp, stay locked in. Let's go. Number 1. When the dogs bark, the lion stays silent. But make no mistake, it remembers every bark. The louder their noise, the deeper their fear. And fear, when cornered by truth, gets desperate. Look around. No, really look. Count the voices, the whispers, the fake smiles, the sudden swarm of critics who never had anything to say until you started shining. Ask yourself, why now? Why all at once? Why do they need to team up just to try to dull your light? Because you're dangerous. Because you hold something they'll never have. Alignment. Not with people, not with crowds, but with something bigger, deeper, more unshakable. You are aligned with the universe itself. You're not playing the same game as them. You are the game they're trying to survive in. And they know it. This is not just about drama or envy or petty attacks. This is about how terrified they are of what you're becoming. Their numbers don't prove their strength. They prove their panic. Think about it. How often do people plot against someone who poses no threat? You don't bring an army to step on an ant. You bring numbers when you're dealing with a force. You rally people when you're up against a storm. And that storm is you. That's why they never came one-on-one. That's why they couldn't face you in silence or truth. They had to scream. They had to swarm. Because your presence alone put pressure on their lies. Your growth became a mirror they couldn't escape. And instead of fixing themselves, they tried to break you. Let that sink in. Let it burn into your memory. Because this is where many chosen ones mess up. They mistake the battle for punishment, not proof. They start asking the wrong questions. Why me? Why is this happening now? Why does it feel like everything's coming at me at once? Here's why. Because the universe knows who you are, and it refuses to let you stay asleep. But it's not just the universe that knows. They know too. And when people know they can't stop the system working in your favor, they start trying to hijack the system itself. Sudden tech glitches when you're locked in. People calling your phone mid-focus. Your mind flooded with distractions. The second truth begins to hit. Coincidence or control? The moment you start leveling up, here comes the noise. Here come the snakes in familiar skin. Here comes the drama, the shade, the delays. Ever wonder why? Because energy doesn't lie, and the power of being chosen is felt before it's even fully formed. You think they're reacting to where you are now? No, they're reacting to where they know you're about to be. You are not in their league. You are not their peer. You are not their project or their puppet. You are proof that destiny doesn't ask for permission, and that terrifies them. Still, some of you forgot. Some of you got shook. Some of you let the crowd trick you into shrinking. You let doubt creep in. You started thinking their numbers meant they were right, that their noise meant your silence was weakness. Wrong. Your silence is sacred. Your isolation is an initiation. The universe doesn't throw storms at the weak. It throws storms at the strong to test if they're ready. So when the chaos hit, it wasn't an attack. It was a reveal. They weren't fighting you. They were fighting the system behind you. They were playing with universal law. And no one plays with the system and wins. You're not just some random person walking through the fire. You are the fire. That's why they tried to drown you in noise, in numbers, in distraction. That's why people you never expected suddenly switched. That's why things you used to depend on started failing at just the wrong moment. Because when you're chosen, the path gets narrow. But the power, it gets undeniable. And yet, here you are, still standing, still reading. After every disruption, you're still here. That's not random. That's not luck. That's alignment. So stop doubting your light. Stop dimming it for people who couldn't handle a spark. Stop thinking you were too sensitive, when in reality, you were just too tuned in. They didn't like your truth because it exposed their lies. They didn't hate your strength. They hated what it revealed in them. Your presence disturbed the comfortable. Your glow lit up their shadows. And instead of doing the work, they ganged up. They barked. They schemed. But none of it could stop you, because when the universe chooses someone, it protects the mission, not the comfort. And baby, your mission is loud. Let me make it crystal clear. They may have had numbers, they may have had noise, but you had meaning, and meaning always outlasts the moment. So next time you feel that sting of betrayal, that weight of being outnumbered, remember this: the lion never fears the pack of hyenas. It lets them laugh, because when it moves, they scatter. Chosen one, your silence is about to get loud. Your light is about to speak. And those who tried to dim it, they're about to choke on the brightness. You weren't meant to blend in. You were built to break patterns. And now that you know, they can never unsee what you're about to become. Number 2, they built walls. You walked through them. You weren't supposed to get this far. No, seriously, this moment, it wasn't meant for everyone. It was engineered to keep you out. Not by accident, not by coincidence, but by design. The first layer of resistance wasn't random. It was a filter, a spiritual firewall. A gate built to stop the ones who were close to remembering exactly who they are. But you didn't fold. You didn't click away. You didn't get distracted. You're still here. Let that sink in. Because if you're still reading this, it means one thing loud and clear: you broke through. And that terrifies them. You were never supposed to make it to this message. Everything from the chaos in your day to the whisper in your mind telling you to scroll away, it was all part of the first line of defense. The world may call it coincidence, but the chosen know better. That resistance, that static, that sudden rush of things pulling your attention elsewhere, it wasn't just life happening, it was interference. It was a signal jam. It was the system trying to keep this message from reaching your spirit. And the fact that you're reading these words anyway, that's not just proof of persistence. That's power. That's you walking through walls that were built specifically to stop you. That's you surviving what was designed to spiritually sedate you. And now that you've broken that first barrier, understand this: they're nervous. Because the truth is, you weren't supposed to wake up. They had the blueprint laid out. You were supposed to stay distracted. You were supposed to stay stuck in loops, overthinking, doubting, over-explaining your soul to people who couldn't hear it. You were supposed to give up before this moment ever came. But you didn't, and that shakes them to the core. There's a reason why your phone glitched when this video came on, why your thoughts started racing the moment this energy hit, why you almost convinced yourself to skip it. Because when you're this close to realignment, the system fights dirty. But you stayed locked in. You passed the test most people don't even realize they're taking. The first layer of resistance isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, a delay, a doubt, a tiny urge to give up. And if you don't catch it, you fall back asleep. But not you. The ones meant to hear this, they don't just find the message, they feel it before it finishes. They feel that strange inner heat when truth starts to rise in the body, that pressure in the chest when their soul knows, this is for me. That unshakable pull that refuses to let them scroll away. You're not imagining that. This moment has already been touched by something bigger than you. It's already been approved by forces that don't follow human timelines. The timing, not random. The message, not mass-produced. This isn't for everyone, it's for you. Because you've hit the point where the universe stops whispering and starts sending. You think it's a coincidence that this message reached you now, after everything that just tried to pull you under, after the silence, the loneliness, the betrayal, the attacks, the pressure. No, this moment is cosmic surgery, and it had to happen now, because you're ready now. But let this next truth land with weight. The first layer of resistance was just the first, and you will face more. Because once the system knows you can see beyond it, it evolves. The challenges will change shape. The distractions will become more convincing. The people sent to shake you will wear the faces of friends. But don't panic. Recognition is power. And this time, you're not walking blind. You've already proven something unshakable. When the universe aligned to send this message, you received it, despite the noise, despite the pushback, despite the fight. And if you're meant to receive something that hard, imagine what you're meant to do with it. Chosen one, this is your moment of confirmation. They tried to block it. The noise tried to drown it. The resistance tried to erase it. But here you are. Still standing, still listening, still burning. And that means one thing: you've already won the first battle. Now it's time to win you. Number 3, they couldn't beat you face to face, so they came for your energy in the dark. Tell me, have you felt it? That strange exhaustion that makes no sense. 1 minute you're locked in, purpose blazing through your chest, mind sharp as a blade. The next, you're slumped, confused, agitated over nothing, like something invisible reached in and unplugged you. That isn't stress. That's not just fatigue. That is warfare, and not the kind you can see. This is the battlefield they don't talk about, the war behind the curtain. The one where they don't come for your body, they come for your energy, where you aren't attacked with fists, but with frequencies, where you're not being chased physically, but drained spiritually. Chosen one, this is not your imagination. This is strategy. The moment your momentum builds, the moment your vision aligns with action, that's when the attack hits. It doesn't scream at you. It seeps in, subtle, creeping. You wake up ready to win, and by noon, you're ready to quit. You were focused, and suddenly your thoughts scatter. You were energized, and now you're sluggish. You were filled with fire, and now you're fighting just to stay awake. Why? Because your power threatens systems you can't see. You're not just walking through life, you're carrying light through a world addicted to darkness. And every time you step forward in purpose, that light expands. It spreads, it shifts things, and they feel it. The ones hiding behind masks, the ones benefiting from your confusion, the ones who only survive as long as you stay asleep. So when you rise, they react. You think it's a bad mood, just one of those days. But behind that feeling is a mechanism, and its only job is to stop you before you become unshakable. This is invisible warfare, and its favorite weapon is making you question your own energy. They can't beat you in a fair fight, so instead, they chip at your power from the inside. They fog your mind, drain your clarity, cloud your confidence, and if you're not aware, you'll think it's you. You'll start to believe you're broken, lazy, lost. You'll stop moving not because you can't, but because you forgot that someone's been trying to make you forget. This is why chosen ones must protect their energy like royalty guards a crown. Not everyone deserves access. Not everything deserves your time. You are not just a person, you are a target. And with that comes responsibility. You can't eat like everyone else. You can't scroll like everyone else. You can't be around just anyone, because you're not here to blend in. You're here to break cycles. So ask yourself, why now? Why does this exhaustion always strike when you're about to launch something? Why does your peace crumble when you're finally clear on what you want? Why do distractions flood in the moment you commit to a deeper path? Because energy is everything, and yours, chosen one, is expensive. It's rare, it's disruptive, and they know if they can't confuse your mind, they can't stop your purpose, so they settle for stealing your fuel. But here's what they didn't count on: you waking up to the game. Once you see the pattern, you reclaim your power. You stop blaming yourself. You stop shrinking. You stop giving your strength away to energies that don't serve you. And don't get it twisted. Awareness alone is power, because when the fog rolls in next time, you won't panic. You'll pause. You'll breathe. You'll recognize it for what it is: a last-ditch attempt to block something they know is coming through you. They don't attack what's empty. They don't drain what's powerless. They only target the ones who carry something divine: you. So if you've been feeling that fatigue, that sudden emotional spiral, that strange forgetfulness, don't spiral. Don't retreat. Understand, you're on schedule. The resistance is just confirmation. The warfare is just a reaction. And reactions only come when something real is moving. The key? Stay grounded. Guard your peace. Call your energy back, because it's yours. Always has been. This isn't the moment to collapse. It's the moment to anchor. You're not being drained because you're weak. You're being drained because your power is rising. And they see it, they feel it, they fear it, and soon they'll witness it. Number 4, they pulled every string and you're still standing. You remember how clear things felt just days ago, how life flowed like a river, not a wall. The clarity in your chest, the peace in your steps. Every move seemed aligned. Doors opened before you even knocked. Answers arrived before you asked. It was as if the entire universe was walking in sync with your thoughts. And then, like someone flipped a switch, everything slammed to a halt. That shift wasn't imagined. That wasn't just life happening. It was calculated. The resistance you're feeling, the stuck energy, the sudden tightness in your chest. That's not bad luck. It's warfare. Precision targeted, strategically timed, and absolutely real. It doesn't come with red lights or sirens. It doesn't knock on your door and announce itself. It slithers in, quiet, subtle, and before you know it, you're second-guessing yourself. You're irritated at people who never bothered you before. You're procrastinating on things that just last week had you fired up. You're feeling blocked, heavy, foggy, for no visible reason. That's the game. They've studied you, observed your rhythms, tracked your triggers. This isn't just some vague bad energy floating around. These are direct hits aimed at you because they know your momentum is real. They know what happens if you stay focused. They know what you're about to step into if you keep going. So they interfere. They disrupt the rhythm. They scramble the signal. They plant distractions so perfectly timed, it feels like fate turning on you. But let me be clear, you're not crazy. That friction you're feeling isn't a figment of your imagination. It's confirmation that you're on the edge of something massive. Ever notice how the moment you commit to growth, conflict erupts out of nowhere? Old friends start acting weird. Unexpected arguments flare up. Random delays start stacking. What used to work stops working. And the worst part, the people around you have no idea why you seem off. They'll call you moody, distant, negative, but you know better. You can feel the tension pulling beneath the surface, the invisible hands moving pieces around to confuse you, to block the blessings that were clearly lining up. It's not paranoia when the attacks are real. It's not being dramatic when your spirit is under siege. You were in flow, and they saw it. You were gaining ground, and they panicked. You were aligned, and they scrambled to misalign you, because they understand the power of momentum. And more importantly, they understand the power of you. In motion, in purpose, in truth. That's their fear. Not just who you are right now, but who you're becoming. What you unlock when you stop doubting. What you access when you stop reacting. But here's the part they didn't calculate. You're still here. After all the psychic static, after all the strategic delays, after the confusion, the exhaustion, the sudden roadblocks, you're still standing. Maybe not untouched, maybe not unshaken, but undeniably undefeated. And that's what keeps them up at night. Because every time they throw something at you and it doesn't break you, you become more dangerous. Every time they create chaos and you remain calm, you become harder to reach. Every time you recognize the pattern and choose to stay centered, you become unshakable. So yes, the resistance is real, but so is your resilience, so is your alignment, so is your protection. This isn't the part where you shrink. This is the part where you recognize the game being played and double down. You weren't given this pressure to fold. You were given it to forge. Your enemies hoped you'd forget who you are, but all they did was remind you what you're made of. So when the next wave hits, and it will, don't ask, "Why me?" Look up and say, "You should have taken me out when you had the chance." You've already survived more than they thought you would. You've already moved through resistance they thought would wreck you. And now, you're aware, awake, activated. That's their nightmare. They pulled every string, laid every trap, pushed every button, and somehow, you're still here, still rising, still chosen. Number 5. They thought you were just another flame. They didn't know you were the fire starter. Let these words not just reach your ears, but sink into your bones. You are not here to chase light. You are the light. You are not just someone passing through the world, hoping it all makes sense one day. No, you are the pulse that makes the world move differently. You're not a side character in some cosmic drama. You're the page, the ink, and the fire behind every plot twist. Chosen one, you are not here to witness change. You are here to be the change. You don't just attract power, you generate it. You don't just manifest miracles, you are the living proof that they exist. You don't just align with the universe aligns with you. That's what they missed. That's what they failed to calculate. They thought you were just a seeker, just another soul trying to find the light. But the truth is, you're not the moon reflecting someone else's brilliance. You're the sun, self-sustained, self-igniting, uncontainable. And that, right there, is the reason they gather. That's why they swarm. That's why they watch, study, imitate, envy, attack, and whisper. Because people can ignore reflections, but they can't ignore a source. The world can handle borrowed power, but authentic power, origin energy, it disrupts, it exposes, it burns through illusions. That's what you are, a walking disruption to everything fake, to everything asleep, to everything built on ego, control, and illusion. And when that kind of energy enters a room, the people clinging to comfort start shaking. They get loud, defensive. They build narratives. They label you too much, too intense, too serious. But don't be fooled. That's not criticism. That's a confession. They're telling you exactly what you are. Too powerful for their games, too real for their masks, too bright for their shadows. And yet, somehow, you are the one who doubts. You question your timing. You hold back your voice. You shrink to make others comfortable. You wonder if maybe you should tone it down, if maybe you're imagining the resistance, if maybe you're the problem. Let's stop that right here. You've never been the problem. You've been the mirror. And that mirror doesn't just show people who they are, it shows them what they're not. You see, people don't fear power they understand. They fear power that reminds them of everything they've suppressed. Your light didn't make you a target because it hurt them. It made you a target because it exposed them. And instead of healing, they chose hate. Instead of growing, they chose gossip. Because that's easier than facing truth. But your job isn't to explain your light. Your job is to own it, to recognize that everything you've been searching for outside, validation, success, security, was never out there. It was always you. You're not the signal booster. You're the signal. You're not the echo. You're the voice. You're not the watered-down version of something greater. You're the original. And that's terrifying to them. Because when someone like you wakes up and realizes that you are the source, not just of your own power, but of impact, the entire structure of control starts to crack. You become impossible to manipulate, too aware to be distracted, too aligned to be derailed, too connected to need constant permission. So yes, expect resistance. Expect people to fall away. Expect energy to shift the moment you walk in. That's not bad energy. That's recognition. They're recognizing the truth you've forgotten, that you were never just trying to make something of yourself. You were always the thing, the spark, the center, the message. You don't have to seek permission to shine. The universe stamped you with purpose before you even took your first breath. And now, as you read this, you're not being reminded, you're being reignited. The moment you own your source energy, everything around you has to adjust. Circumstances shift. People reveal themselves. Paths clear or collapse, based on whether they're meant for someone like you. So don't dim, don't shrink, don't apologize. And for the love of your own destiny, stop looking outward for what's always been within. You are the storm. You are the signal. You are the source. And no one, not a crowd, not a critic, not a system, can take that from you. They didn't create you, so they can't control you. Number 6, they don't hate you. They need you to forget who you are. Let's make something painfully clear. You are not being opposed because you're flawed. You are being opposed because you're flawless in ways they can't fake. You're not under attack because you're losing. You're being targeted because you're winning in silence, growing in secret, and glowing without needing anyone's permission. And that kind of energy, it's a threat to those who depend on others just to feel alive. You see, not everyone has the ability to generate real power. Not everyone carries that fire in their bones. There are people, empty, disconnected people, who can't create, can't manifest, can't channel. So what do? They feed. They latch on to light bearers. They hover around visionaries. They mimic the chosen, hoping no one notices the difference between borrowed glow and original fire. These aren't just haters. They're cosmic parasites, vampires of spirit. They don't come to build, only to drain. Not to uplift, only to consume. And when someone like you shows up, radiant, authentic, unstoppable, they panic. Because your presence alone exposes the truth. They're not thriving. They're surviving. Off the backs of those like you. Your light forces contrast. Your power brings awareness. You don't have to call them out. Just existing near you is enough to trigger them. Because you're the real thing. And they know. The moment others recognize that too, their illusions crumble. So what do? They attack. But not directly. No, they're too afraid of your truth for that. They work in shadows. They throw shade instead of hands. They whisper instead of roar. Because deep down, they know you could destroy them without even trying. And that truth eats them alive. So understand this. They don't oppose you because you've failed. They oppose you because you've already succeeded in ways they can't measure, in arenas they'll never enter. They see you breaking generational curses just by choosing peace. They see you moving in silence while they need attention to feel relevant. You succeed without begging. You rise without crowd approval, and that makes you dangerous. Because if others realize they don't need the system to win, that they don't need noise to be valid, that they don't need approval to be powerful, then their whole game ends. You represent freedom. You represent self-sufficiency. You represent what happens when someone remembers they're the source. And for someone who survives by manipulation, by energy theft, by controlling narratives, you are an existential threat. This is why the opposition always feels so personal. Because it is. You are not just bumping into resistance. You're confronting those who depend on your unconsciousness. They need you doubting. They need you drained. They need you unaware of just how potent you are. Because if you ever wake up fully, they're done. And the most dangerous part, you've already begun to wake up. That's why you're here. That's why this message found you. That's why the pressure intensified. They see what's forming. They feel what's coming. And now they're doing everything they can to stop the inevitable. But it's too late. Because the moment you recognize the pattern, the spell breaks. The moment you name it, the fog lifts. And right now, you are naming it all. You're seeing through their tactics. You're unplugging from their games. You're reclaiming the power they tried to siphon. And with every step you take in clarity, their grip weakens. Every time you choose peace over chaos, they lose ground. Every time you protect your energy, they lose access. They tried to label you too sensitive, when in truth, you were just tuned in. They called you difficult when you wouldn't feed their drama. They called you selfish when you stopped sacrificing your spirit for their comfort. But let the truth settle in your chest. You are not the problem. You're the proof that divine power can live in human form. You're the example they hoped no one would notice. You're the one they can't copy, can't silence, can't replace. And that's why they're obsessed. That's why they watch. That's why they oppose. Because you carry something they can't touch, and it drives them insane. You don't need to fight harder. You just need to remember, they're not coming for you because you're weak. They're coming for you because you won. Number 7. Before the crown, there's always the crushing. Let's get one thing clear. This isn't random. What you're going through right now, it's not just a rough patch, and it sure as hell isn't some stroke of bad luck. This pressure, this chaos, this rising storm around you, it's the final test, the last threshold before your next level, the moment where everything seems like it's falling apart, when in truth, everything is falling into place. And if you've made it this far, it means you're already in it. The delays you're facing, the betrayals that blindsided you, the silence from people who once claimed they had your back, the weariness that set in so deep it feels like your soul is holding its breath. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Throughout every generation, every story of transformation, every breakthrough moment in human history, this exact point appears. This pressure, this waiting, this emotional weight, it's not new, it's ancient, it's built into the process of ascension. Because before any chosen one is crowned, they are crushed. Not to destroy them, but to prove them. To carve out everything that isn't real, to test the integrity of their light, to see if the mission they carry is rooted deep enough to withstand the war against it. Because what's coming to you isn't small, and the bigger the blessing, the harder the gate is to pass through. You're standing in front of that gate right now. They want you to give up. That's the point. That's what this whole thing is. The tension, the setbacks, the voices in your head telling you, maybe I was wrong, or maybe I'm not ready. All of it is part of the final test. It's a desperate attempt to make you forget who you are at the exact moment you were about to become it. And believe me, they know how close you are. That's why the pressure ramped up. That's why things seemed to get worse just as you started to feel momentum. That's why it feels like everything is demanding your attention, your energy, your belief. Because if they can shake your mind now, they can stall your future. If they can bend your will now, they can block what's already trying to arrive. But the only thing being tested right now is you. Not your strength. You've proven that. Not your worth. You've always had that. What's being tested is your remembrance. Will you remember what you carry? Will you remember why you started? Will you remember that everything around you is reacting to something within you that's activating? This is the moment where most people turn back. This is where doubt eats dreams. This is where potential gets postponed for another year or another lifetime, but not you. Because even now, in the middle of the storm, something in you won't let go. You're still here, still holding the vision, still choosing to believe, even when belief feels heavy. And that, right there, that's proof that you're built different. Because this isn't about surviving one more hard day. This is about unlocking your next reality. This is about the final stretch before the door opens. And the thing about final stretches, they're always the hardest. They always come with the illusion of failure. Always come with the temptation to settle. But chosen ones don't settle. You weren't sent here to almost break through. You were sent here to shift the entire atmosphere by simply refusing to fold. So when it gets heavier, don't retreat. When your soul feels tired, don't shrink. When everything inside you screams to quit, go even harder. Because the darkness you're feeling, it's not the end, it's the dawn. Not a metaphor, not some fluffy motivational line. It's cosmic law. The breakdown always precedes the breakthrough. The silence always comes before the shift. And the storm always hits hardest right before the sky splits open. So, hold your ground. This is the test they hoped you'd fail. This is the moment they were sure you'd forget your fire. But now they're watching you stand tall in the middle of hell, unbothered, unbroken, unchosen by man, but handpicked by the universe itself. And they can feel it. Your next level isn't coming. It's already here. Number 8. If the crown is yours, stop asking for permission to wear it. Let's stop playing small with the truth. They cannot stop what's coming for you. They can't delay it. They can't block it. They can't outrun it. Your breakthrough, it's already written. Your expansion, already unfolding. Your awakening, already underway. Your ascension, inevitable. There is no force in this world, or beyond it, that has the authority to cancel what the universe has assigned to you. No enemy, no lie, no manipulation is strong enough to override alignment. The only thing that could ever slow it down is you. That's what they're betting on. Not that they can overpower you, but that they can make you turn on yourself. That's their last move, their final strategy, their checkmate attempt. If they can't beat you outright, they'll try to convince you to stop, to sabotage your own mission, to doubt what's already yours. Because doubt, chosen one, is the sharpest tool in their arsenal. Not chaos, not betrayal, not resistance. Doubt. That whisper in your mind. maybe they were right about me. That quiet, gnawing question. What if I'm imagining all of this? That exhaustion that makes you pause and say, maybe this path isn't for me after all. None of that came from your spirit. None of that came from the truth. It was injected, carefully, intentionally, because here's the terrifying truth. For them, the only thing powerful enough to stop you is you. They knew they couldn't defeat you in battle, so they tried to make you pick up their weapon and use it on yourself. Tried to make you doubt your light, dismiss your calling, dilute your purpose, sabotage your own expansion. And some of you did, for a while. You waited for signs. You asked for permission. You sought validation from people who couldn't see past their own wounds. You begged the world to give you the green light when the universe had already handed you the keys. But that ends now. This isn't the time to hesitate. This isn't the season to shrink. This is the moment to claim it all. Every single thing they said you couldn't have. Every path you were told was too much for you. Every part of you they tried to shame, silence, or tame, take it back. Because you're not imagining your power, you're just finally recognizing it. You're not delusional, you're disruptive. They don't oppose what's weak. They don't organize to block the irrelevant. They only form resistance when something real is moving. So if you've felt surrounded, doubted, dismissed, delayed, good. Let that be your proof. Let their opposition be your confirmation. Let their fear be your evidence. Let their obsession with your downfall remind you how high you're about to rise. They saw it before you did. That's why they came early. That's why they planted the doubts before the dream took form. Because once you realize you never needed approval, their whole system collapses. You don't need consensus to rise. You don't need agreement to shine. You don't need anyone's permission to access what's already yours. The moment you stop looking outward and start claiming your truth without apology, you become unstoppable. That's what they fear. That's what they tried to delay. But it's too late. You're already remembering. You're already shifting. You're already stepping into alignment. And now that you see through the game, you can't unsee it. So claim it. All of it. The vision, the gift, the calling, the favor, the energy, the glow, the anointing, the breakthrough, the comeback, the crown, the fire. You don't need to ask for what you've already earned. You don't need to beg for what's encoded in your soul. They wanted you to break at the edge of the breakthrough, but instead, you became it. This isn't the end. This is your announcement. The shift is here. The path is open. The light is green. Now go claim what's yours, all of it. Number 9. This many against one must mean you're not just a threat. You're the spark. This isn't just about you. It never was. Yes, this path feels personal. The pressure, the isolation, the resistance that wraps itself around your life like invisible chains. But don't mistake the personal feeling for a personal target. You're not just being opposed as a person. You're being challenged as a frequency. Your awakening is part of something much bigger than your own journey. It's a ripple in a much wider wave, a coded activation written into the very fabric of this timeline. And when you rise, others feel it, whether they understand it or not. That's why you're so heavily watched, why so many seem invested in your delay, why people who don't even know you seem to project negativity toward you. It's not just about stopping you, it's about stopping what your rise represents. Because when a chosen one awakens, really awakens, they don't just climb, they clear paths. They break locks in the collective grid. They light fires in others without saying a word. You don't just carry influence, you carry a signal. And when that signal activates, it sends shockwaves through everything built on fear, control, and illusion. So of course they tried to block you. Of course it felt like the weight of the world came down on your shoulders the moment you decided to stand tall. That's not a coincidence. That's physics. That's universal law in motion. Pressure doesn't hit where there's no potential. You're not just a soul in a body. You're a frequency placed with intention. You weren't born in this time, this place, this version of reality by accident. You were deployed. Your presence here is part of a strategy far bigger than your logical mind could ever grasp. Your survival, not luck. Your instincts, not random. Your gifts, not by chance. You've walked through battles that would have broken anyone else. You've been thrown into situations designed to hollow you out. But instead of collapsing, you expanded. Instead of shutting down, you tuned in. Instead of disappearing, you became visible. And the truth is, the moment you chose to keep going, you activated the grid. Yes, the grid. The unseen energetic network that connects all awakened souls across time and space. When one lights up, the next is called. When you step into power, you send a silent signal to the next in line. It's time. This is the real reason the resistance is so aggressive. It's not just about silencing you. It's about preventing the chain reaction. Because once you fully remember who you are, others will too. Once you walk in your power without shrinking, without apologizing, without waiting for permission, you become an unshakable mirror to everyone around you. And they'll have a choice: wake up or fall away. That's the threat you pose. Not just transformation, contagious transformation. And here's what's wild. After everything, you're still here. After the betrayals, the fatigue, the spiritual warfare, the moments you doubted your own worth, you still showed up. Right here, right now. You didn't just stumble into this message. The timing of this, not random. The precision of your arrival here, divine orchestration. Something greater aligned this moment down to the second because it knew your spirit was ready. And now, the question becomes, will you finally own it? They've always known the truth. The system that tried to break you knew it. The people who turned on you knew it. The shadows that lingered around your light knew it. The universe knows it. Now, you must know it too. You are the living proof that energy cannot be destroyed, only redirected. And everything they tried to use to silence you has now become the very thing that speaks for you. Your presence, your path, your survival, your glow. You've already activated the grid by arriving here. The signal has been sent. The others are waking up. And now your role shifts from survivor to source. So yes, wow. You must be powerful if it takes this many people, this much effort, this level of resistance just to try to slow you down. And still, you're rising. They didn't know what they triggered, but they're about to find out. Because this isn't your ending. This is the grand activation. And it's only the beginning. And now, as the final pieces fall into place, let this truth settle deep into your spirit. You were never the target because you were weak. You were the target because you're transformational. Everything you've faced has only confirmed what they feared most. You're ready. Ready to rise. Ready to lead. Ready to claim what's already yours. If this message awakened something in you, don't let it stop here. Like, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to say, "I'm activated." Share this with another chosen one who needs the reminder. The grid is live. Let's keep the signal moving.